Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amrutangamaya Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. O Lord, please lead us from unreality to the reality, from death to immortality, and from ignorance to the knowledge. Om, peace, peace, peace. Dear devotees, as you all aware that in previous week I had, told or informed that while discussing the message of Buddha, we will discuss the Pratitya Samutpada, the dependent origination, which is the core philosophy of the Buddha. As we all know, the Lord Buddha gave as teachings in a four formulas or in the four sutras, as we all know. One is what? The which is called Arya Sattani. Suffering exists. So we have to understand and we have to accept that suffering exists. If something is existing in this world, there should be some cause also. So if the suffering is existing or suffering exists, the cause is, we should also try to understand what is the cause of suffering. This is the second sutra or the second main teaching. And when there is a cause of the suffering, there should be solution of the suffering also. There should be solution also to end the suffering. That was his third sutra, which is Nirvana. And the fourth is there is a means to attain that Nirvana or enlightenment or to end the suffering. So whatever the cause of suffering or the cause for suffering, as we know, that there only this Pratitya Samutpada or the dependent origination comes into picture. So according to the Buddha, the ignorance is the root cause for all our suffering. Now we should not immediately draw the conclusions. Oh, Advaita Vedanta also says that ignorance is the root cause for our suffering. So Buddhism is also saying that ignorance is the root cause for suffering. So more or less both are one and the same or whatever. There may be similarities, but no. So what do they mean ignorance, and what the Advaita Vedantins, that is non-dualistic philosophers say Agnana or the ignorance, that is totally different. So according to them, this dependent origination, in that the first is Agnana, ignorance, that is the root cause for the suffering. If the ignorance is the root cause for suffering, then what is the solution? Obviously, the knowledge is the solution to end the suffering. As you all know that if there's a darkness in the room, so how can you remove the darkness? Oh, I clean the room. There's a lot of dust and a lot of dirt. I clean the room. Fine. You clean the room, you remove the dirt and you remove the cobwebs, all these things. Then does the room get light? No. Darkness is removed? No. Okay, probably this room was not used for a long time. I would like to paint it. Let me do the whitewash and let me do painting well. Fine, you may do painting, nice painting and all. So, but does it remove the darkness of the room? No. Okay, maybe then we will put some good furnitures and we'll bring some interesting objects. By that, then the darkness of the room is removed? No. Then how the darkness of the room is removed? It is only through light. By bringing the light or by allowing the light to come inside the room, we can remove the darkness, we can destroy the darkness. So similarly, the ignorance can be removed, the ignorance can be destroyed by knowledge alone. So this knowledge of dependent of origination is what the solution to end the suffering. to remove the ignorance. So this Pratitya Samutpada consists in his second and third sutra of this Arya Sattani. And the fourth is what? The means to end the suffering. What is that means? Ashtanga Marga. Samyak Dushti, Samyak Vak, and all, whatever the Ashtanga Marga is there, eightfold path. So today's our talk is on Pratitya Samutpada, that is dependent origination. And there is a beautiful saying about this dependent origination. One who sees conditioned arising sees the Dhamma. One who sees the Dhamma, that is Dharma, see conditioned arising. So this is the teaching, one of the main teaching of the Buddha. So is equating the dependent origination or Pratitya Samutpada is equating the Pratitya Samutpada dependent origination along with the Dharma, along with the Dhamma. So he has given lot of importance. Buddha has given lot of importance on this Pratitya Samutpada. And the philosophers and the scholars do mention that based on this Pratitya Samutpada, in due course of time, the main four schools of Buddhism, like Hinayana and Mahayana. In Hinayana, Sautantrika and Vaibhashika, and Mahayana, Yogachara, Vijnanavada, and what you say, Shunyavada. Shunyavada and Yogachara. Both have come. All the four main schools of Buddhism has been emerged based on this Pratitya Samutpada. That's what the scholars argue, or the scholars opine. Now, what is this Pratitya Samutpada word meaning? Pratitya means meeting, relying, depending. So it is a depending basically. Samutpada means arising. Because of depending on something, so something has been emerged. So it is basically interdependence. The overall meaning of this Pratitya Samutpada is interdependence, interconnection, and one thing leading to another. One thing leading to another. So for an example, you sow the seed. You sow a mango seed. Then slowly mango sapling came, mango plant, and water and fertilizer, sunlight, everything has been provided. Then that plant slowly, it grew as a tree. Now mango tree has been emerged. From mango tree, so many mangoes we are getting. And when we eat, then so many mango seeds are there. Some are thrown and that get disintegrate. And if we carefully sow that mango seed into the soil on the earth, again we get mango plants, mango saplings. Again, they will grow to mango trees. And from mango trees, again you'll get mango seeds. And if they sow the mango seeds, again you'll get mango trees. Now, say for an example, you have got the big farm where you have got 50 mango trees. All these 50 mango trees, how did you get? So you didn't purchase. You purchased only one mango. And after eating the mango, you sow the seed. And mango tree has been emerged in due course of time. Then you got so many mangoes. Among them, in 2 or 3 years, slowly you started planting the seeds. Then saplings, plants, and trees. So one seed is root cause for so many mango trees, that is 50 mango trees. All that 50 mango trees are depending on one mango seed actually. And that 50 mango trees will give birth to 500 or 5,000 mango trees if we plant the mango seeds. So it is dependent origination. And having said all these things, the mango seed has been grown till mango tree evolving. It has got lot of dependency. It has to depend on soil, the nature of the soil, and the soil should have some fertilizer and water, sunlight, and people should not walk on the plants or sapling when it is sapling, or the maybe cow or some animals should not walk. If so, probably because of stampede, the plant may die. And when just it is a plant, if some animal comes and eats, then again we may miss the plant. All these things. So basically, from mango seed, one mango tree has been evolved, no doubt, but in between, it depends on so many things. It depends on weather, If too much rain comes, again you may not get. And you don't water it, again we don't get mango plant or mango tree. And too much water, there can be a problem. And too much fertilizers you added, again there's a problem. If no fertilizer, it is a barren soil, again you may not get a mango tree well. There may not be growth or hindrance. So if you see, there's so much dependence from mango seed, the evolve of mango seed to the mango tree. So like that, according to the Pratitya Samutpada, from birth and death, or from the suffering, from the ignorance, which is the cause for suffering, from there to the death or the rebirth, there are so many dependent originations or the link. Probably if you see the two wheels are connected with a chain. How much ever you pedal, if there is no chain, then you will not be able to go further. When you pedal, that energy has been transferred onto the both wheels, and it will act as a catalyst force to go further. How? Because of the chain, very important. If the chain gets broken, then how much ever you try, then we will not be able to will not be able to go further, or the cycle will not go further. So the chain is very important. If you break the chain, it will not go. So according to the Buddha's teaching, if you break the chain, then there will be no more birth and death. You will attain nirvana, that is enlightenment. So if there is no birth, there is no death, then there is no suffering also. It is a permanent full stop. That's why we have to come for philosophy. So that's why we need spirituality. That's why we have to study these great people's teachings. Why? All our sufferings will end once for all. There will be permanent sealing. Say, for an example, now I'm unhappy, so I went and ate ice cream or I went for a picnic. Fine, my unhappiness went away. But again, it is a temporary. It is for a day or two, but afterwards, again, the pain or the suffering can come. So, how much ever the world and its objects can give us solace, happiness, that is all temporary in nature. But the permanent suffering, a complete cessation of suffering, complete stop of suffering is only possible through higher values or through the knowledge. So, that's what the Buddha is saying. So, ignorance is the root cause for suffering. So, knowledge is the solution for the suffering. So, the ignorance is the root cause for suffering. See, if you say most of the philosophies are telling that ignorance is the root cause for all of our suffering. And according to the Buddha, the universe is conditioned and it is relational because it is all interdependent. Say, for an example, we are getting a good rain. It depends on so many things. Because we are getting rain, we got water, and that water has entered inside the land, and that's how we get the underground water, and we are able to get through tubewell. Or otherwise, the rainwater reaches the rivers, canals, or ponds. So through that, we are able to derive the water. We use the water, and we leave in different parts to the again we leave after using we leave the polluted water. It has been cleaned, and we start using it. And because of sunlight, the water gets evaporated, it forms the clouds, and again it has been poured on some part of the land. So we get water. Again, sun takes. So, like that, there is a cycle. There is so much interrelational or interdependence, according to the Buddha. So basically, it is a ecological view of existence as a mutually dependent. This is very, very important point. Now, if you see a wheel, it can be four spokes, eight spokes, or five spokes, or whatever. So, according to the Buddha, he has given a Dharma chakra, the wheel of Dharma. That wheel of Dharma has got 12 spokes. That wheel of Dharma, according to the Buddha's main teaching, it has got 12 spokes. Means they got this Dharma Pravartana Chakra, which is called Pratitya Samutpada. Otherwise, it has got 12 components. What are these 12 components? Say, the first component is what? The root cause, or the primary component, the first component of the whole Dharma Pravartana Chakra, or the Pratitya Samutpada, is what? Avidya. So according to the Buddha, From avidya, ignorance, samskara has been created. So samskara is generally is called impressions or thoughts, but here it is the Buddha is describing, or the Buddhist philosophy, Buddhism describes the samskara as the impressions of karmic forces. When we do perform actions, actions produce its own results. If you have performed good action, then there will be good results, which is called punya, virtue. And if you do the wrong actions, bad actions or evil actions, then the result will be evil or the sin. Of course, not the sin according to Christian theology here, and it is called bad luck or whatever. And apart from that, the karma creates impressions in the form of residues, in the form of samskaras, that which is nothing but habits. So that's what samskara means according to the Buddhism. Here, the impressions of karma. When you perform an action, it creates impressions. So the sum total of impressions is nothing but a character or personality, as we know, according to Swami Vivekananda. So when Buddha says samskara, samskara means it is the impressions created by one's own actions, which is stored in one's life. And the samskara will cause for the birth of an being, for the birth of a organism. This is called vijnana. So vijnana means it is not the knowledge here, it is vijnana means initial consciousness of the embryo. When we are in the mother womb, maybe after 3 months or 4 months or whatever, the consciousness keeps in. There is a feeling, the sensation. So the initial consciousness of the embryo is called vijnana. Basically, basically, a jiva or a being started existing in the mother's womb. That's what vijnana according to the Buddha. Then from vijnana, slowly, we all know that what happens slowly in the mother's womb, if everything goes well, the slowly, embryo develops into the full baby, full form of baby. And maybe 8th or 9th month, it comes out. But there are different stages of embryos development, we all know that. When such embryo has got all the 6 organs intact, Shadaitana is afterwards. All physical and mind and the 5 sense organs, or especially body and mind, has been taken full form, has been developed in full form in embryo. That is called Nama and Rupa according to Buddhism. First is when there is a life in the embryo, in the mother's womb, in the form of embryo, that is what Vijnana. And when it gets developed and where it has got fully development of body and the mind, of course, as a child, baby, no doubt. So that is called Nama and Rupa. Then when 6 organs, means 5 sense organs and including the mind, and of course they have got 5 skandhas, which has got a technical things which I shall not go. So that is called Shadaitana. So in the layman's language, if you ask me, that is called 6 organs, including the mind. So that is called Shadaitana. So when the body and mind is formed, then the 5 sense organs and also mind is well formed, well evolved. That is called Shadaitana. If these 5 sense organs and mind is not there, then there is no transaction at all for a human being or for any being for that matter. So that's why it is very important. Then from this, what happens? Sparsha gets evolved. Means once either in the mother's womb or after coming, when the child takes birth, slowly, what happens? The senses come into contact with sense objects, which is very important. All our transactions are why? Because our mind and senses are coming into contact with sense objects. That's why we have got experience. I'm tasting the ice cream. How? Because the sense object called ice cream has come into contact with, or the sense organ called tongue, taste buds, have come into contact with the ice cream object. That's why you are able to understand, you are able to experience the ice cream, isn't it? So the sense object contact, the sense organs coming into contact with sense object is what sparsha. Then what happens? Then get Vedana. Vedana means here it is not any like sorrow or bad or whatever. Here Vedana means sense experience. You saw the ice cream, You felt that you should eat it and you purchased a chocolate ice cream or blackcurrant ice cream. Then you start eating, you start licking the ice cream. Then you'll get an experience. Ah, beautiful. Now summer is approaching. So if someone gives an ice cream and you start licking it or taking it bit by bit, you say, beautiful, so nice. So that's what Vedana, sense experience. And you heard some, if you're a music lover, suddenly you start hearing a piece of good music. It is so pleasant, so soothing. So you are feeling so happy. Your sense organs came into contact with some sound, which is called music. It is so pleasing and soothing. You are enjoying it. Your mind, gets it. It perceives it through your sense organ, and you are feeling enjoying. Means that is an experience, sense experience. Your sense organ is coming into contact with the sense object called sound, and it is experiencing the happiness. So this is called Vedana. So once you enjoyed ice cream, first time you enjoyed the chocolate ice cream, and afterwards you were somewhere you enjoyed the pista ice cream. First time you enjoy, you tasted it. It looked so nice, or it tasted so nice. And afterwards you a desire came into your mind that I should taste the pista ice cream. Then your mind is craving, or your mind has got a thirst for that sense pleasure called pista ice cream, because your mind is behind the, what you say, Trishna, that is behind the sense pleasure, which is enjoying ice cream or sleep or hearing good music or seeing some beautiful images or nature, scenery, whatever it may be. So there is a thirst for sense experience. There is a thirst for sense pleasures. There is a thirst for enjoyment. That is what called Trishna, which is very, very important. Because of this only, we have become the slaves of the sense organs and the mind. And from this, what happens? Upadana has been aroused. What is this upadana? It is basically clinging to the sense enjoyment. First, there is a thirst for sense enjoyment. Then, when it becomes more and more, then clinging to the sense pleasure, clinging to sense enjoyments, it gets formed. From that, what happens? You will become the slave of the sense experience, sense pleasures. I know eating chocolate too much is not good for my health. Doctors have said, but still, I like chocolate. I like chocolate. So, though I know that it is not good, but I am unable to give it up. Why? Because there is a craving, there is so much thirst, so much desire, intense desire to enjoy my chocolate, to enjoy the chocolate. I am unable to control it. This is what we mean, the craving or the intense desire to enjoy the sense objects, or the clinging to the sense pleasures, we can say. That is called upadana. By this, what happened? When this craving and when the clinging to the sense pleasures, when it is there, upadana and trishna, this give rise to will to be or will to born. Let me take a birth. See, we are all bothered about death. We fear for death. No one is fear for birth. Hardly people. Oh, everyone fears for death, which is called abhinivesha in Sanskrit. We are all fearing for death. We want to avoid the death, and we want to be eternally free. We want to live eternally. And we are all using today science and technology, our medicines, so that we can have a long span of life, no doubt, mostly, if not all, mostly. How much ever we are suffering, but still we say better death should not come, or whatever, knowingly or unknowingly, or consciously or unconsciously. But no one say that, oh, I should not take birth. Because I took birth, that's why all these problems. If I had not taken the birth, there would not have been any suffering. Hardly very few people they think that, because there is a craving, thirst for sense experience, sense pleasures experience. So that will to be born is called bhava. That's why bhava means also samsara. In samsara means it is a cycle of birth and death. When you die, you have to take birth, rebirth, and Buddhism also believe in rebirth. When you take a birth, then you have to experience, and you have to work, and you have to experience, and again you have to die. So this is called bhava, will to be born. Once you are born, then you have to die. Once you die, again you have to born. You have to take birth, rebirth. So the cycle of birth and death is called jati according to the Buddha. The will to be born is called bhava, and when you are born, you enjoy your life, you experience your life, you suffer your life, and with so many things, and you die. And again, you will take birth, and again, you will die, and again, you will take birth. So, the cycle of birth and death is what called jati, according to the Buddhism. So, it is not a caste. Jati means generally in Indian cultural context. Jati means it is, we say, a caste. It is not a caste. Here, it is the cycle of birth and death. So the cycle of birth and death gives us what? Old age and also the suffering. Old age refers to a suffering. So it is not the only old age, it also includes any type of suffering. Also, we can think that, and also death. Because I ceases to exist, which I cannot believe, which I cannot assume, or which I cannot imagine. So the cycle of birth and death is what called jati, and we all fear, we all try to avoid the old age and death, which is not possible for anyone. Even the God or prophet, if he comes in a human form or in any form in this world, mundane world, he or she has to exist, ceases to exist. He or she has to leave this world because whatever it takes birth, it has to perish, it has to die. So we are all fearing for old age and death. That is called jara and marana. So we don't want old age, we don't want decay, we don't want suffering, we don't want death. We want to live eternally free, and we want to live eternally with all good experience, with all pleasurable experience. That is what very interesting factor. So this is called Jara Marana. So you die, again take birth and all. But all these things, the whole chain, this is the 12th component. So the main, all this chain, the whole chain started from where? You should remember my first point, that is called avidya, that is ignorance. So basically, they are saying the theory of causation, dependent origination. So the effect is depending on cause. The effect is depending on the cause. So depending on the cause, the effect arises. Depending on avidya, samskara arises. Depending on samskara, vijnana arises. Depending on vijnana, nama and rupa arises. Forms. Depending on nama and rupa, shadaitana gets formed. Because of that, sparsha comes into picture, then vedana, then trishna, then upadana, bhava, jati, jara, marana. So this is what the cycle of birth, I mean, this is what the cycle or chain, the 12 spokes chain. So these are the 12 components. So it is very important to understand here that everything is relative. And also, according to the Buddha, nothing is real, absolutely real. I mean to say, what the Vedantins, new non-dualistic philosophers, they say that absolute, the self is absolutely real. The consciousness is absolutely real for them. So the Buddha doesn't holds that view absolutely real. Then someone say that, like Charvak, or someone say that nothing exists or everything is unreal or whatever. No, he avoids both extremes. According to him, neither neither things are absolutely real nor it is absolutely unreal. So it is in between, neither absolutely real nor absolutely unreal. So it is in between. That's why Buddha is known as Buddha has followed the Madhya Pantha, middle path. He avoided two extremes. Of course, that has been told in a Buddha's asked not to eat too much and not to fast, not to sleep too much, not to uh, avoid sleep at all, once for all. Not, of course, in that way and all people do explain, but actually how he followed the middle path here, the philosophical truth is what he avoided absolutely real thing, that he avoided the statement or the philosophical stand that thing something is absolutely real and some it is neither it is absolutely real nor it is absolutely unreal. That stand has been taken. So it is, all phenomenal things hang between reality and nothingness. So the whole phenomenal world exists in between the reality, that is absolute reality, and absolute nothingness. So that's why it is called Madhya Pantha or Madhya Marga, means that is middle path. And he goes to the extent saying that He who sees the dependent origination, that is Pratitya Samutpada, sees the dharma. And who sees the dharma sees the Pratitya Samutpada. So, according to the Buddha, Buddha himself has given tremendous importance, significance, value for this Pratitya Samutpada. So, we can say that this is the core philosophy of the Buddhism. Of course, based on this Pratitya Samutpada, four main schools have come, and Tibetan Buddhism, that is Vajrayana, has come, and they have got so many other schools. But mainly, the main four schools are depending on this Pratitya Samutpada, or the theory of dependent origination. Now, let me go from the behind, then you'll be able to understand still in a better way. Old age and death, because that resembles is what? Suffering. Because we don't want to, none of us, we want to be old. We all want to be young and energetic, so that our body, mind, everything is intact. We can enjoy the life, we can enjoy the world. In the old age, we cannot enjoy the world. Our body doesn't work properly. We will have so many diseases and so many issues. Neither I can walk nor talk completely, or nor I can see. I may not be able to hear. All these things. Lot of dependency will come into picture. So old age and death, no, I ceases to exist, which which is nothing but the misery and pain. So I would like to avoid old age and pain. If you want to avoid old age and pain, what you should avoid? Why, what you should avoid? You should avoid the birth, rebirth. And how can you avoid this rebirth? Then the will to be born should be avoided. How this will to be born can be avoided? Clinging to objects of the world, or clinging, craving, or intense thirst for sense pleasures, sense enjoyments should be avoided, and craving for enjoyments of the objects should be avoided. Then sense experience, senses coming to sense objects, that should be avoided. Then how that sense experience can be avoided? Sense object contact. Now, I don't want to see a picture which is ugly, or which gives a wrong impressions, which brings a wrong thoughts in my mind. If that is the, then I have to close my mind. I cannot remove the picture if which is not in my hand, maybe. Then I have to close my eyes, so that my eyes will not see that picture, and I will cut off myself from seeing that picture. So if you break the sense contact, sense coming into contact with sense objects, that should be break. Then what happens? Then formation of sense organs comes into picture. The sense objects or senses organs are not come into contact with sense objects. Then the formation of sense organs ceases to exist. Then what is the psychophysical organism, formation of psychophysical organism, or the formation of baby ends. If that is, then initial consciousness of the embryo ceases to exist. Then impressions of past karma has been burnt out, completed, completely removed, annihilated. That means what? Ignorance is removed. When you remove the ignorance, when you destroy the ignorance, all these effects will be removed automatically. So from ignorance, we do action, and actions creates impressions, and all the whole cycle starts. So basically, probably I will try to tell a few points regarding avidya, or ignorance. It's very interesting point for them to understand what is the ignorance. According to Abhidharma Moksha Sutra, or Abhidharma Moksha, or Abhidharma Moksha Sutra, they say that ignorance is a quality which is a contrary to understanding, like untruthful and inamicable, etc. Basically, I mean, it's a technically told, just I will tell in a simple language. You have taken a Vedantic example, like rope and snake. There is a rope in the corner of my house, in the corner of a room, because of less light, dim light. Neither there was complete darkness, nor there was a complete light. There was a dim light. Because of the dim light and etc., I misperceived, I wrongly perceived the rope as a snake, isn't it? That's what the Vedanta says. That's what it explains the ignorance. Now here saying the Buddha or Buddhist philosophy, Buddhism says that you are not knowing the rope as a rope. That's where the problem comes. Instead of knowing the rope, you are seeing it as a snake. That's what superimposition. Vedantins are saying that. Now Buddhism saying that you are not able to understand that it is a rope. And basically, both are telling in different way. So basically, not knowing it as a rope, that is what the cause for ignorance. Because of that, then I mistook it as a snake. Because I mistook it as a snake, then I got fear, then I got tension, I shouted, I brought a stick to kill the snake or to chase the snake and whatnot. Or I might, because of fear, I might have left the room and I was sitting outside, shivering in the cold because there is a snake in my room or in my house. All these other, what do you say, reactions comes into picture. So ignorance is what? Not knowing the things as it is, not knowing the thing in reality. But Pratitya Samutpada Vibhanga Nirdesha Sutra, it is an interesting name. So they tell very clearly, not knowing the limits of the past and not knowing the limits of the future, not knowing actions and their maturations, that is the maturation of the karma result, and not knowing misery and not knowing its genesis, not knowing its cause and effect, not knowing virtue and non virtue, not knowing transgression and non transgression, and what to be cultivated and what not to be cultivated, etc. This is what ignorance. So basically, it's a confusion, it is a delusion. That is what they are trying to tell. And according to them, they have got two realities, two truth systems. One is the perverse misconception of conventional objects like cause and effect, and perverse misconception of the ultimate reality of non self. So, this is very important. So, basically, for them, ignorance is a mental component, which is a delusion with respect to reality, which is the prime motivator for the action. Because of ignorance, I perform actions, and actions create impressions as in the form of samskara. And because for the fructification of samskaras, samskara means karma phala, then I have to take birth, and all these things will start. So basically, ignorance is the root cause for all our suffering. So that has to be ended. And these things, if you study, and though Buddha told things simply, probably according to me, at least afterward, the philosophers have philosophized it, and they have given a lot of explanations and a lot of analogies and their own theories, etc., etc. Sometimes, if you don't have a proper preparation, then when we study this, even Pratitya Samutpada, technically or philosophically in detail, sometimes we feel that it is too technical, it is too head boggling, or will not be able to understand. But basically, we have to understand that ignorance is the root cause for all our suffering. So that you have to destroy the ignorance, you have to remove the ignorance. Because ignorance is the cause. When the cause is removed, the effect is removed. What is that effect? That is birth and death, or old age and death. So if that is removed, then no more birth and death, no more rebirth, then there is no more suffering. So you can end the suffering. And that is what the end of the suffering is, what nirvana, and that is attained by Ashtanga Marga. May Buddha bless all of us and guide us in a righteous path, in a right path, so that we shall understand this and we shall be able to end the suffering by removing the ignorance or by destroying the ignorance. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Rama Krishna Arpanamastu.